Standing by my apartment window in Alexandria, Virginia, I watched the red ribbons of evening traffic slide past and wondered when, if ever, 3 years of silent sacrifice would count for something. I'm Brianna, 32, a cybersecurity engineer, who built her career on precision and caution, yet somehow became the one paying the mortgage and property taxes for a family that barely remembered my presence. To them, I existed more as a utility than a person. That truth snapped into focus when my phone chimed with a message in the family group chat. My younger sister Savannah announced that her upcoming wedding was for family only, and that I wouldn't be attending. Almost instantly, both of my parents reacted with a heart emoji. No defense, no explanation, just approval. In that moment, I understood my value to them was purely transactional. I replied calmly, congratulated her, and informed everyone that the mortgage and taxes were now their responsibility. I ended by asking for the immediate return of my Tesla. Within minutes, the chat vanished, replaced by dozens of frantic calls from people who had just made it clear I wasn't family. This didn't begin overnight. The roots went back 10 years, to my first real paycheck. I remember the suffocating heat in our kitchen when my mother, Martha, spread legal papers across the table and insisted I sign as the primary guarantor for a new house. My credit was good, she said. It was for our future. She held my hand while I signed, never mentioning that I'd be left holding the debt if everything fell apart. My father, Walter, sat silently, staring into his coffee, refusing to meet my eyes as the ink dried. That day set the pattern. My stability became their safety net. As years passed, the favoritism grew impossible to ignore. Walter stayed quiet while Savannah burned through money I sent home. I worked 80-hour weeks, took freelance contracts, and lived in a cramped studio eating cheap takeout, while Savannah posted photos of designer bags and spa weekends. When I called to talk about rising bills, Martha cut me off to explain that Savannah needed a new wardrobe for social events. My success, she said, meant it was my duty to provide. Every promotion became another reason they asked for more. The breaking point came when Savannah moved back in after yet another failed business idea. Instead of pushing her to find work, Martha handed her the keys to my Tesla, which I'd left at the house. I arrived for a rare visit to find Savannah lounging in the driver's seat, complaining about the interior color. When I objected, Martha shielded her and told me Savannah needed protection from the world. I was strong, she said. I didn't need comfort. Walter nodded along, as always. By then, my phone only rang when bills were due. Once at dinner, I overheard Martha telling a neighbor that Savannah was the heart of the family, and I was just the engine. That comment hurt more than any financial loss. It confirmed that my humanity ranked below my utility. I realized I wasn't part of a family. I was funding an operation. 2 weeks before the wedding, I was summoned home for a family meeting. There was no warmth, only a printed invoice for a $12,000 liquor upgrade. When I protested, Martha waved me off. Savannah complained that my exhaustion and talk of budgets were ruining her mood. Then, in the hallway, I overheard Savannah and her fiancé Derek discussing selling my Tesla to fund their honeymoon. They laughed about how I wouldn't notice until they were gone. I confronted them. Savannah laughed in my face and told me I should be grateful to be useful. Derek smirked like my assets already belonged to him. When Martha arrived, she demanded I sign another authorization form. I refused. She slapped me. Walter watched. I walked out into the rain with a clarity I'd never known and called my attorney. Days later, my friend Jordan alerted me to unauthorized access. Attempts on my financial records originating from my parents' house. We uncovered a $500,000 loan taken out in my name. The money funneled into Derek's offshore account. Worse, The security questions had been reset using personal details only my mother knew. This wasn't carelessness. It was theft. Instead of panicking, I prepared. We froze accounts, disputed the loan, and quietly redirected payments into escrow. I let them believe everything was fine. 5 days before the wedding, I slipped into the house and found proof. Forged signatures, practice sheets, even a video of Savannah laughing while perfecting my handwriting. Martha caught me but scolded me for invading their privacy, insisting I should have signed whatever they needed. I left with the evidence and handed it to my attorney and the bank. On the wedding day, I watched the live stream from my apartment. As Savannah prepared to exchange vows, I activated everything. The Tesla locked. Cards were frozen. Payments failed. The ceremony collapsed into confusion as staff demanded immediate settlement. Savannah called, screaming. I told her calmly that happiness built on theft doesn't last. Then I hung up. The fallout was swift. At my lawyer's office, surrounded by police, the evidence spoke for itself. Tears, pleas, and accusations followed. But none of it moved me. Charges were filed. The house was eventually foreclosed. My parents moved into a small apartment. Savannah worked to repay restitution. Derek's ambitions ended with a criminal record. 3 months later, winter settled over Virginia. I sold the Tesla, untangled my finances, and deleted every family contact. The silence wasn't lonely, it was peaceful. At the airport, holding a one-way ticket and a single suitcase, I saw my reflection and barely recognized the woman who once lived to be useful. I boarded that plane knowing the most expensive thing I ever bought was my freedom, and it was worth every cent. If you've ever been treated like a stranger by the people you supported, you know how heavy that realization can be. The question is simple. Would you stay silent to keep the peace, or stand up to reclaim yourself?